Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about tattoos. Okay, so just before we get into it, make sure to press that subscribe button to be notified every time I post new content. So if you're a fan of the channel, you'll have seen that I've got quite a few tattoos at this point, and I want to show them off. I want to show you guys what some of them mean, some of them that don't have meanings, and why that's okay. And yeah, let's get into it. So we'll go in chronological order, okay? So the Deadmau5 tattoo. This is by far the worst tattoo I have on my body. It was the first one that I ever got, and it was one of the most expensive ones I got too. This was in Wales, and basically the tattoo artist saw me coming. I was like an obnoxious 18-year-old, and I was like, I want to get this tattoo of Deadmau5, and so I gave him the picture, and it's looked this faded since day one, and it's absolutely awful. But at this point, I mean, I was going to get it covered up at one point, but it's like, you know what? I quite like it. It's kind of charming. It makes the others look better because it's so bad. Truth be told, you can tell what it is, but there's nothing defined about it, and I just feel like it could have been done better had I gone to my usual tattoo artist. But I didn't know any better at the time, and the guy overcharged me a massive amount for it. Tattoo number 2 is the emoji tattoo, which is on my ankle. Again, an 18-year-old with a pocket full of £45 or however much this cost. I was like, I really like this emoji. I really want to get this tattooed on myself. I don't regret it because it's still kind of funny to look at, but would I get it now? Probably. Again, it's faded, but it's difficult for something to not fade when it's constantly covered by socks over the years, and it's kind of like a rough place to get a tattoo on your foot, I think. Moving on to number 3, at this point I had a pretty good collection of bad tattoos on me, so I was like, you know what, I want to get a good one. So this is my Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse tattoo. Interestingly, me and my siblings, we all have Disney tattoos. You know, my sister's got a Stitch off Lilo and Stitch, my brother's got a Simba off The Lion King. I wanted to get Steamboat Willie because I love the animation, and I think the art style of it is just amazing. I love it. So this is the first tattoo I got in Leeds in the UK, and this is the first and only tattoo where I've ever drank even a small amount before getting it done, and I will never ever do it ever again. I mean, I don't drink now, but even after that I still didn't go near it before a tattoo. So it was already in a sensitive area. I was being tattooed by someone who was old school as hell. He was so just like, no conversation, just I'm gonna tattoo you, I'm gonna just drill this into you because I'm old school. So I'm like, you know what, I respect the guy. I think the problem with drinking before a tattoo is it thins your blood. Okay, so I know people that have done this before and they said it's not that bad. I mean, in my case, it was hissing with blood. There was blood everywhere during this tattoo. It was so uncomfortable. I mean, it was already in a really sensitive area, like under your arm. It's like already really painful. So yeah, definitely wouldn't recommend doing that one. That placement of the tattoo already sucks, so don't make it even worse for yourself. So tattoo number 4 is my Biffy Clyro puzzle piece on my ribs. Now, I know what people say, but I didn't find this one to be that bad. When it comes to it, people say the ribs are the worst. I disagree with that, and I'll explain why over the next few of them. I suppose everyone's pain thresholds are different, but for me personally, yeah, it hurt. It hurt a lot. I would say it's probably because this was like an outline and not like a full tattoo is why it didn't affect me so much. But yeah, it wasn't as bad, and it didn't last that long. It was like an hour and a half, maybe an hour. I don't even remember, it was so long ago. But yeah, I'm really happy with this one. If you've seen the channel before, you'll know how much I love Biffy Clyro, and they're just fantastic. So tattoo number 5 is done by my current tattoo artist, who's done basically every tattoo since, and this is my Mountains piece. At the time, I was really into like geometric shapes and that sort of thing. I still do. I love that art style. Essentially, this was another tattoo that didn't necessarily have a meaning. I don't really see them as you have to have a meaning to get a tattoo. I think that tattoos are art, and you don't necessarily need to have a reason to get one, and that's always been my sort of stance on it. So a lot of people will say like, oh, what does this mean? What does that mean? Some of them have stories behind them, most of them don't. You know, to date, this is one of my least painful tattoos there. I think there's so much fat and not so much muscle there that it wasn't very painful at all for me. So yeah, that was was a win-win all round. So the next one is a reference to Arctic Monkeys' third album, Humbug, the song Secret Door. And I really, really like that song. I really love that whole album. It's my favourite Arctic Monkeys album as a whole. And it's sort of loosely based off the artwork that was released for that album. This is the start of the whole galaxy theme that we were going for. I really like the galaxy and the sort of space themes throughout them, and so we wanted to have that interjected into a few of them. So really happy with that one. It's a subtle reference to one of my favourite bands. So the next one is from Prison Break. It's straight from the show, straight from the artwork, except it's bigger and it's a little bit more diagonal just to fit the shape of, you know, where it was on my arm. Yeah, I really like this one. I'm really happy with it, and I think it's, after like 3 or 4 years, it still looks super solid, so yeah, definitely happy with that. So the next one is one that I work closely with my tattoo artist on creating. So this is the dagger piece. I wanted like a knife with a lady's face coming from it, and we were playing around with a few different designs and then we settled on this one. I'm really happy with it, and I think when you hold it downwards like this, when you look at it up close, the shadow looks realistic to whichever setting you're in because it's going straight down, so it always looks really cool. It's almost like an illusion. I really like this one. I'm super happy with it. So the next one is the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening Game Boy cartridge, and I really like this one. If you're familiar with my channel, you'll know that I stream retro games every Thursday. It's been a massive part of my life so far, and I love retro games, and this was something to sort of solidify that love for those sorts of games. The next one is sort of Harry Potter inspired. It's a stag tattoo, and I'm really happy with this one. Again, I was going for like a geometric shapes, and I wanted to sort of play around with lines and line work and dot work as well, so that's all incorporated in this tattoo. I really like it, and I think it's interesting how it looked before because there was such a blank open space here where there was nothing before. I'm still looking to get other things to like sort of wrap around my wrist a little bit more, but I will do that in due time. So next we have possibly the most painful tattoo on this list. It's on the sort of inside of the elbow. This is my geometric fox tattoo, and it's sort of broken down into different shapes. It also incorporates the galaxy theme again. This one is one of my favorites. It looks so good. It's a nightmare trying to take pictures of this because it looks right in person, but on pictures it looks warped because of where it is on the body. Not only was the tattoo like unbearably painful, but also afterwards I couldn't bend my arm for like a full week straight. I was so nervous to even try to do it, and every time it happened it was just so painful. So I had to have my arm out like a plank the whole week. So sleeping on it was a nightmare. Oh my god. Yeah, that one for me is definitely the worst. That's absolutely the worst one. Next we have the tattoo that I got with my friend Lunko. I really like this story, in fact. So me, Bonds and Lunko were out on a day out in Leeds. You know, we had no uni that day, or I think we just finished uni, and we went out to town and we went shopping, and we went to a chicken place, and we were like, oh yeah, wouldn't it be crazy if we got tattoos? And then we kind of just went silent and we just looked at each other and we were like, should we go and get tattoos? And I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And so I messaged my tattooist on Instagram. I'm like, yo, do you have any availability? He gets back to me and he's like, yeah, I've got space for two of you now. Let's do it. So we got a taxi to the tattoo place and we got tattoos. So I got the wine glass with a hand holding it, and it's just sort of like the black and white, like shaded look. I really like this one. I think it's really cool. So next is the last one on the list. This is the longest tattoo I've ever had to sit in on for. It's the most expensive one, and it's the biggest one by far. It's huge. This was a 5.5 hour session, which up to that point, the longest I'd ever done was 4. And before that it was probably 3 hours, 3 around that. So I wasn't super used to being sat there for 5.5 hours getting a tattoo done. This was really strange, and I think the strangest thing for me was we had like a lunch break in the middle of it. It was almost like a full shift. So that was an experience for sure. I brought like 3 cans of Monster with me and like some sandwiches. That was definitely an experience. I'm really happy with like how this has turned out. This one was very painful because it not only goes all the way down my arm, so it hits all of the nerves going up there, but it also goes all the way as far back as like up here and like on the back of my shoulder blade and right in between where the the shoulder blade sits and like the nerves just behind it, so that one really hurt at the back, and it was really difficult to put cream on it. I think it's worth noting as well, everyone's got different techniques when it comes to tattoos and how to treat them. I've always used Bepanthen, and then when the whole thing came out that you shouldn't really use that, I swapped to cocoa butter, Palmer's cocoa butter, the unscented version, so it doesn't mess with the tattoo at all. I've had a lot of good results with that. Typically, whenever I get a tattoo, I will take the cling film off as soon as I'm home, as soon as I can get to a place where I can wash it and I can just have it out in the open comfortably. So I will always sort of have the tattoo open and just let it dry. After I've washed it properly, I won't even pat it. I'll just let it sort of soak into the skin, and that has been the thing that I've done for all of my tattoos so far. In fact, I don't know whether this is part of the reason, but the Dead Mouse tattoo that I've got is the only one where I kept the cling film on for probably a week. I kept changing it, of course, and I kept cleaning it, but I was keeping it on all the time and basically suffocating the tattoo. So I don't know whether that's contributed to the fact that it looks really smudged and really not very clear, not very well done. I mean, I'm sure it contributes a little bit. It's still terrible. Anyway guys, thank you for watching the video. Please make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below about your tattoo stories, what you think is the most painful. I would love to hear that. Oh yeah, take it easy.